This is Linux Mint 21 with the Mate desktop. We're going to be looking at the virtual desktops. There's actually 4 virtual desktops present. If we hold Ctrl Alt and press the up arrow, we get a bit of a bar across the center there. That white surround indicates our current location. So if we now hit the right arrow, we go to Workspace 2, we can see we've got an application there. And we can see it's actually showing down on the panel as well. So we'll go Ctrl Alt Up. That just gives us the overview. Once again, we can see we're on Workspace 2. And there it is with that white surround. And we can see there's the file manager, and there it is up in that top right hand corner. We can see there's something on Workspace 3. So let's hit the right arrow. Go over to there. There's the welcome screen. We see the welcome screen on the panel, but we're not seeing the file manager. And here we've got the file manager and its button on the panel, but no welcome screen. And if we go across the last one, Workspace 4, it's empty. So let's come back with the left arrow. So Ctrl Alt left arrow, back to Workspace 1. There's our 4 workspaces, sometimes called virtual desktops, sometimes called viewports. Pretty much the same thing. However, you get the same wallpaper and the same panel. Obviously the panel's got different buttons on it, but you're getting the same basic desktop, but you've just got 4 of them. Now, as I mentioned, this is the Mate desktop. In the Cinnamon desktop, Ctrl Alt Up Arrow actually gives you what's called Expo, and it'll cut the screen in the middle horizontally and vertically, and you'll get a screen in each corner representing each one of these desktops. But that's not available here in Mate. So Mate is perhaps not as feature rich in this department. Nonetheless, let's continue on and have a look at some other options we've got as we go. So Ctrl Alt Up just brings up our little switcher there in the middle of the screen. Right arrow, left arrow moves you across. If I go Ctrl Alt Right, it'll actually move us to Workspace 2. And if we do that Ctrl Alt Right again, it moves us to Workspace 3. However, Ctrl Alt Up will just bring up the little switcher without actually switching, and Ctrl Alt Down does the same. So some of those functions are a little bit different on Mate than they are on Cinnamon. However, that's what it is. We'll go back to Desktop 1. So let's start up an application. We'll just use the backup tool, something small. If we right click on the title bar, this is one of the few places you'll see any indication of workspaces. So here it's showing always on visible workspace, only on this workspace, move to Workspace Right, or move to another workspace, and then we get our 4 options there. Well, 3 others. The first one's greyed out because we're currently on Workspace 1. So let's just go move to Workspace Right and Ctrl Alt Up, and we can now see there it is there with the file manager. So let's go across to Workspace 2. We'll just pop that over there, and we'll right click it again. Now we've got options to move left or right, because before we couldn't move left. We were already as far left as we were going to be able to go. We can choose always on visible workspace. Now you'll see that'll stay there as I cycle through. So let's go Workspace 3, Workspace 4, 3, 2 and 1. So you can see it's staying up in that position there. So let's now right click, move to another workspace, and we'll send it over to Workspace 4. Let's have a look. And there it is there in Workspace 4. Now we'll get some other options a bit later on in the video, dragging these around and moving them, but that's sort of how you got to move them at the start. Again, you can see we get these first 3 options here, but the 4th one is greyed out because obviously that's where we are. We'll go back to Workspace 1, So we know the other apps are there. Ctrl Alt Up or Ctrl Alt Down. We can see the other apps on our other desktops. Let's start the Appearance application. And we're just going to change the theming a little bit. Now down you can see where this green button is on the panel and the Firefox icon. There's 3 vertical dots between them. You can't see them there at the moment. Depending on the theming on your system, you may be able to. There's also 3 on the right hand side next to the update shield. So I'm just going to change the theme for a moment. And now you can see those 3 dots. And the 3 dots over here on the right. So the ones on the right, just as a matter of interest, if we go about, it's about notification area. So that's the notification area. These 3 over here, this is called the window list. We right click it and go to about and see window list. So I'm going to right click. You can also launch the system monitor from there, just as a matter of interest. But we want to right click them and go to preferences. And we'll just change this back to Mint Y. Close that down. Just out of interest while we're here, if you've got little previews that pop up above the buttons here, that'll be because this is selected, show thumbnails on hover. So there's that little preview there. They don't do anything. That's how you turn them on and off. There's some window grouping options. I'm not going to get into that. Enable mouse scrolling. So let's have a look at that. We'll go to Workspace 2 and we'll just put the terminal up here. We'll just put the archive manager or something up here as well. So there you go, we've got a little bit of stuff happening on this workspace, and here are the 3 buttons for them down on the panel. So if they're overlapping, like so. If we want to bring the file manager to the front, we can click on it there. Or we can click on their buttons. We can also, if we just hold the mouse on these buttons and I scroll the wheel, you can see I'm cycling through scrolling the mouse wheel there. So let's go back. And that's here, mouse scrolling, enable mouse scrolling. So if we deselect that and go back to that other workspace, now it doesn't work. Mouse scrolling's not working. I'll have to click on the actual button for each application there. Go back to Workspace 1. We'll leave that selected because it's helpful. We'll go up to the top, Workspaces. The reason we're not seeing the other buttons on the panel is because of this, show windows from current workspace. So I'm going to select show windows from all workspaces and you'll see them all turn up down the bottom. And now we can click on them and it'll take us to that screen and that application, wherever they happen to be. So that's pretty handy there. Now there's another thing down the bottom here. For example, if we go to the File Manager and we minimize it, and now we come back to our window list. If I click on the Backup tool, that'll take me to the Backup tool, or the Archive Manager, or the Welcome screen. However, if I click on the File Manager, which is minimized, the text goes bold, but it won't go to that screen or to that application because it's minimized. So Ctrl Alt Up. We know it's on Workspace 2. We're on Workspace 3 at the moment. So let's go to Workspace 2 and now restore that application. And now these buttons will work again, regardless of where we are. So if you minimize something and go to another desktop, clicking on it won't take you back. So now we're going to go to our little preferences here, restore to native workspace. Let's select that. And now let's try, we'll go to the welcome screen. There's our file manager still minimized. You'll see the text is, the bolds dropped off and the brackets, and it took us to the screen or the workspace where it is. That's my recommendation, is to run these here. However, you may want to, one thing to consider, show windows from all workspaces. If we go back to this one, there's no indication that the other desktops are present or that there's anything on them. So it may actually be a bit of a privacy thing. You could be working away, somebody's looking over your shoulder, they can't see anything other than what you're doing, and then you can just quickly go to your other workspaces or desktops as you need to. So that's the only other thing I'd say about that. So there may in fact be, valid reasons you wouldn't want all the buttons showing. You may want to keep them a bit separated. You may want that little bit of privacy. Whatever it is, I'm just showing you the options and what they do. I think we're pretty much done with this. We'll close out of that and we'll move along. We're going to go a little bit deeper now, and we're going to right click on the panel. We're going to go add to panel, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to select the workspace switcher and click add. And then we can close that. And here it is. It's turned up on the panel. We'll do a right click and go move, and I'm just going to move it across to the right as far as I can. If we bring up Ctrl Alt Up Arrow or down arrow, you can see they look very similar. 3 there, 1 there and 1 there, 3, 1 and 1. So it's giving us the same visual representation as what that one in the middle does, but it's there all the time. You can scroll with the mouse wheel, so you can click on them. So there's obviously there's 4 boxes. We're obviously on desktop 1 or workspace 1 at the moment. If we click on this one, we'll go to it, workspace 3, workspace 4. We can also, if I just hold the mouse there, we can actually use the scroll wheel as well on that. So I'm just scrolling there. You can also click and drag, as I mentioned earlier. So here we have the backup tool on workspace 4, and we're currently now back to workspace 1. I'm going to put my mouse right in there, and I'm going to drag that over to workspace 1, and there it is. Now it's a bit hard to see what all of these apps are. I think that one there is the file manager, and I'm going to try and drag that. In fact, you see a bit of an icon there. Drag the file manager onto 4 because it was here with these other couple a minute ago. On the Cinnamon desktop, if you go Ctrl Alt Up, you get what's called Expo view that I mentioned earlier, where you get the screen cut into four corners and you can drag them around in there. This is about as good as it's going to get on Mate. Let's just drag the file manager back. And if you maximize that, it's a bit hard to see there, but it does actually, we'll drag that back to workspace 4. There we go. You can see you get the actual file manager thing there. Same here, if we go to workspace 1 and maximize the backup tool, you can see the little backup icon in there as well. And same thing, if you minimize, we're on 1, there it is there. If we minimize this, it'll disappear. So there's no indication that it's actually there other than that it's over here on the panel. And you'll see its icon comes and goes as I minimize and restore it. We can right click into the workspace switcher and go to its preferences. You can have only the current workspace, which seems a bit pointless to me, but anyway, there's the option, or show all workspaces in 1 row. If we go plus in 2 rows, you can see what it does. It's gone into 4 little quarters there. So we'll go back to one row. And if we want more workspaces, so here, number of workspaces, we just hit the plus. Now we've got 6. We hit the minus, and we're back to 4. If you want to delete the other 3 workspaces, you just take this back to 1. So just go minus until you get back to 1. However, as this video is about workspaces, we're going to leave it there. Something I actually like to do myself is I actually name them. So I call my first one video, and you'll see why in a moment. I call my second one files. Obviously on my system, I pretty much run videos on my first screen, on my first workspace. And I do my file management on 2, web, and work is just whatever. You can call them whatever, or you can leave them as they were. The reason I do this is because obviously it can get a bit confusing knowing where everything is. I mean, it's not too bad with the panel. If we want the backup tool, we just click on it. If we want the file manager, we just click on that. However, if I send this to Workspace 2 called Files, I know if I click on 2, there it is. And I'd consider the terminal to be Work, so I'd put that on 4. And the archive is probably part of a file management thing, so I'd probably leave that there. The welcome screen is just whatever. So that's why I named them myself. And I tend to work with whatever the name of that desktop is. I tend to do that sort of thing on that desktop. Okay, we've also got a couple of other options here. Show workspace names in Switcher, so you'll see that'll change. And there's also allow workspace wraparound in Switcher. If we select that, and now I'm going to bring the mouse down, I'm going to scroll. And as I scroll, it's just cycling. Instead of getting to the end and then stopping and having to go back like that, if I keep turning the mouse wheel, it gets to the end and it starts back at the other end and just cycles through. So that's what that does there. We can also, just as a little bonus, you can actually drag these around. So there's the archive manager. We see it's there with the file manager. Let's actually drag it over here. Just close the welcome screen. So now they're in the same position. That's desktop 2. What's on desktop 3? There's nothing on there. And desktop 4, we've got the system monitor and the terminal. So let's just drag that over there. And we'll drag this to the end. Let's go over here. So as you can see, you can drag these buttons around on the panel. We can drag the archive manager up to here somewhere. So that's just a little bonus for you there if you didn't know you could do that. It's not really related to virtual desktops, but I thought I'd include that. And there we have virtual desktops on Linux Mint Mate.